On the docket for today's San Francisco 49ers report by Chat Sports, Chase Sr. here with you. Hope everybody out there is having a great Thanksgiving week. We know that changes will be made to the Niners organization this offseason. As part of that, on today's show, I'm going to explain and elaborate as to why Kyle Shanahan should hire Robert Saleh as the team's next defensive coordinator. And of course, that would mean that Shanahan would have to move on and fire current defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen. We have seen a lot of troubling signs on the defensive side of the football for San Francisco during the 2024 campaign. They are a disjointed mess. They have collapsed late in games. They've given up the second most points in the NFL in the final 2 minutes of games. They've had leads to 3 divisional opponents with under 2 minutes to go, and they've lost all 3 of those games. A sign of bad coaching, so many communication issues, pre-snap and post-snap. How many times have you seen the Niners defense try to get aligned and everybody's pointing at each other every which way because they don't know where to go? How often have you seen a cornerback drop back thinking that he has one assignment where he's going to cover one area of the field and then the receiver goes to the other area of the field? That corner's expecting the safety to be back there for some safety help. Nobody's home, leads to an explosive play. How many times have we seen bad alignments for this Niners defensive line going up against the run? Part of that's been a wide nine issue, but a lot of this is coaching. We've seen these communication issues, schematic breakdowns. What's very telling is that quality players are playing poorly. A job of a great coach, a job of a great CEO is to elevate their players, is to elevate their employees. Nick Sorensen's not doing that with this Niners defense. San Francisco also prides themselves on being a physical, downhill football team. Niners defense is getting bullied and out-physical. It's not a word, but I'm making it a word. Because San Francisco missed 19 tackles against the Packers. How does that happen? Josh Jacobs was running through cats and running over dudes, picking up a lot of yards after contact. And with Nick Sorensen not having any play calling or defensive coordinator experience, that inexperience has shown. The EPA numbers and analytical numbers are horrific, and this is a Niners defense that is not playing confidently. Under Robert Saleh, under D'Amico Ryans, they were flying around. They were playing fast, physical, decisive. They were confident. They had swagger. It's not the case this year. Now, give Kyle Shanahan credit. Yes, he did hire Nick Sorensen. He did try to target Bill Belichick. He reached out to him. He offered him the defensive coordinator role. Belichick has a big ego. He wants to be a head coach. He wasn't hired as a head coach last offseason. He's still shooting for that this offseason. You can see why Belichick decided to take the year off and try to become a head coach in this 2025 cycle, and give credit to Shanahan for reaching out to one of the finest defensive minds in the history of football. But any quality business always has to have a contingency plan. Any quality business has to have a backup plan. Kyle Shanahan's backup plan after Bill Belichick was to hire Nick Sorensen and elevate him within this staff and then bring in Brandon Staley to help him. A theme last year for the Chargers, how many games did they blow? A theme this year for the Niners, how many games have they blown? Now coming up next, why the Niners need a change at defensive coordinator and why Robert Saleh is the man for the job, why a reunion makes sense. First, be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, the largest independently run Niners channel here on YouTube. I give you coverage that's informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking every single day where you have a voice. And that's a big reason why we've been able to grow the Niner empire here at Chat Sports. You take a look at some other big Niners channels on YouTube. My buddy Grant Cohn, 119,000 subscribers. He's killing it. David Lombardi, more than 80,000 subs. The guy Larry Krueger, my man, who I go on his show every single Friday. His YouTube channel is growing rapidly. 51.6 thousand subs. Subscribe here, support them, and let's continue to distance ourselves from our competitors because competition brings the best out of everybody. If you also want to support the show and get some fresh gear, San Francisco Cisco. Get your shirts right now. Chatsports.com/SF. Available in red. You've seen me wear this on the show. Available in black as well. We will put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's San Francisco 49ers report. We move forward. Why the Niners and Kyle Shanahan should bring back Robert Saleh. He's been helping the Green Bay Packers since he got fired by the New York Jets. You think he gave Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley some intel on how to stop the Niners offense? Yes, Brandon Allen was the team's starting quarterback, but the Niners got throttled, and Robert Saleh could have been behind that because he's been helping Green Bay as an organization with just some coaching insight for head coach Matt LaFleur. Some pushback that this idea will get. Chase, the Niners can't bring back Robert Saleh. They need to change the scheme. The scheme doesn't work any longer. They ran it under D'Amico. They ran it under Steve Wilks. They're running it right now under Nick Sorensen. That's why Shanahan elevated Sorensen. They want to run their wide nine. They want to have these similar concepts. We need a new defensive system. Well, hold on. Because when Robert Saleh was the head coach of the New York Jets, and before he got fired, the Jets were a great defense. They just couldn't get the quarterback position right. But on the defensive side of the ball, they were clicking. Since he was hired in 2021, they were first in points per drive, first in EPA per play, and third in success rate. Some people will say, don't hire Robert Saleh, hire Jeff Ulbrich, former Niners player, used to be the Jets defensive coordinator under Saleh. Now he's the interim head coach. I'll tell you this Jets defense has sucked since Saleh got fired. Now, part of that could be because Jeff Ulbrich is focusing on overseeing the operation and not being the defensive play caller, but I think it's pretty telling that Saleh gets canned and the Jets defense has since gone downhill with a lot of talent. You have Quinnen Williams, you have CJ Mosley, you have Sauce Gardner, and that defense, they've really been struggling. There's also this from people. Chase, why would Robert Saleh take a defensive coordinator job? He's not going to be an assistant. He's going to be a head coach. I don't think he's going to land a head coaching job this quickly after being let go by the Jets. The results just weren't there, and I think other teams look at that as pretty risky. Plus, he'd be a defensive hire for a team that might be in the market for a rookie quarterback. Some possible NFL head coaching openings. 8 of them come to mind for me. The New Orleans Saints fired Dennis Allen. I think the New York Giants might move on from Brian Daboll and their general manager, Joe Schoen. We'll see if Mike McCarthy comes back to the Dallas Cowboys. I hope so, because I think they're going to continue to suck if McCarthy's the head coach. Las Vegas Raiders should move on from Antonio Pierce. New York Jets already fired Saleh, as I mentioned. I think Doug Peterson is a dead man walking. The Chicago Bears should have fired Matt Eberflus going into 2024. And the New England Patriots might move off of Gerard Mayo. I have it listed as doubtful there, though, because Robert Kraft, who, it's a crime, he's not in the NFL Hall of Fame as an executive, has only had 3 head coaches since he took over as the Patriots owner. My model for a quarterback-needy team that's also looking for a head coach, hire an offensive coach. Pair that offensive coach with a young quarterback. And you hope that you get that marriage right, and that marriage lasts a long time. The thought process of going defense scares me a little bit because if you get a great defensive head coach and he hires a great offensive coach, that offensive coach is going to be gone within a year or two because he's going to get poached to be hired by another team to be a head coach there, and then your young quarterback has to link up with the new OC and perhaps learn a completely new offense, new verbiage, new concepts, or new offensive thought processes. Now, I like a coach like Mike Vrabel as a defensive guy. I think Robert Saleh never had a chance with the New York Jets because that organization stinks, but that's how I would go about it if I were running an organization. Another thought here with bringing back Saleh. Andy Reid with the Philadelphia Eagles found a defensive head coach in Jim Johnson, one of the best defensive minds in the history of the NFL, and the Eagles in the early 2000s went to 4 straight NFC championship games. Andy Reid made it to 5 NFC title games from when he took over in 1999 through the 2008 season, and Jim Johnson was the defensive coordinator in that final and 5th NFC Championship game. And what has Andy Reid done with the Kansas City Chiefs? He hired a defensive head coach in Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo is not going to get a head coaching job. Jim Johnson was too old to get a head coaching job. Now Kyle Shanahan needs to find his defensive head coach. Think about this. The Niners had Robert Saleh as their DC. He left. Hired DeMeco Ryans as a DC. He lasted 2 years, left. Steve Wilks was the DC for 1 year. Kyle Shanahan fired him. Nick Sorensen, DC, he might last 1 year. You need a defensive coordinator who's going to be here for the long haul like Spags has been with Andy Reid. You also think about this Niners sideline this year. It's been lifeless. The spirit and the energy has been sucked out of this team. They need some juice. They need some order on that sideline. That's why Steve Wilks went from the box to the sideline. Robert Saleh provides a lot of juice. He gets amped up. He can give this team some order and direction. Kyle Shanahan's not really that guy. He's going to call the offense. When the defense is on the field, he's looking at his tablet, looking at which plays he's going to call, looking at which plays worked or didn't work, trying to formulate a game plan. And Robert Saleh can be an assistant head coach defensive coordinator in a way, and I think that position would be appealing for him. He can run the entire side of the defensive football, or the entire defensive side of the football, I should say. Shanahan also looks broken this year. It's like the loss to the Kansas City Chiefs just snatched his soul. He doesn't have any confidence as a play caller. He's still thinking about how the Niners lost that game in heartbreaking fashion. It's human nature for that to happen. But can bringing back Robert Saleh, a familiar face, with that juice, with that energy, bring him back some happiness? I also think Saleh can bring in a really good defensive staff. Think about how he developed DeMeco Ryans, how he brought in Chris Kosarek, how he's been able to bring in really good position coaches. And the Niners could use that because right now they are not a well-coached football team. And I just don't think these problems that we talked about a little bit earlier are going to happen with Saleh. This year, it's troubling how disjointed the Niners are, how they've collapsed late in games, the communication issues that we've seen, the scheme breakdowns that we've witnessed, the quality players who are playing poorly, how the Niners have gotten bullied and out physical, how they missed 19 tackles against Green Bay, 15 in the first half. Inexcusable. Nick Sorensen's inexperienced. Robert Saleh is very experienced. The EPA numbers this year are awful, and this is a Niners unit that is not playing confidently on the defensive side of the rock. So those are my opinions. What is yours? Should the Niners bring back Robert Saleh? B for back, C for change it up, and you want to see a new defensive scheme, let your voices be heard.